Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Right now, we're gonna jump right into this video. This is part two. We're installing the eccentric shaft here on the F10 N55 engine. Let's jump into it right now. So we have our new eccentric shaft ready to go in. I've got, almost ready to go in. I've got my new needle bearings here. They've got their caps on them as well too, and I'm clumsy and dropping stuff, so we'll leave that there. So what I am going to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of my engine oil lube, assembly lube. I'm going to take some of this, put this on the seats where these roller bearings are going to go. These actually just open up and slide onto the shaft. So we'll put those in position and then put a little bit more assembly lube on them just to make sure that they're slick. We want to make sure that they're very well lubricated before this engine starts up. Again, this is just, this is my understanding. I have never done this before, but makes sense to me. This is what I would do on any other pump at work or anything like that, because this is gonna be a similar type situation when it comes to bearings and such like, and things of that nature. So we're gonna get all these set up, and then I'll show you guys the final product before we get them installed. As we can see, we have all of our needle bearings now in place, and then you can see the red on them. That's the engine lube that I've already placed on them. I've taken each one of these, I've taken a couple of these caps or these bearings and slid them into place in the caps themselves. Just so if you guys are wondering, like these caps, they are numbered. So if you see that one there, it'll show up as 3. So I try to make sure I put them in order. So 1 through 3, 1 through 6. But they are numbered as well too. These caps are identical top and bottom. If you see here, they actually gonna look identical. They actually go the same direction and everything. And then they have a little hole in there that actually helps you find center whenever you're actually putting it into the bearing cap there. I'm going to put these now on the engine bay, and then, on the engine itself, and then we'll make sure everything lines up properly before we go ahead and reinstall. Like I said, I made sure that I put some engine lube on the shaft itself, then I put some engine lube on the bearing, put the needle bearings on there, and then even put more engine lube on there just to, as I rotate them, just to make sure, because I want to make sure that they are moving smoothly and that we don't have any issues. You do not have to use engine lube. I think even like the repair manual may say to use just engine oil, and that's fine if you have that. But since I do have the engine lube, I decided to use it as well. Okay. And just as the engine cap has it, you can see in there's a small hole. That is for locating the center of this bearing. You see the little hole there. So we're going to slide that into place and just seats itself, and that should be good. And what I'll do is I'll grab the other cap just to make sure that everything looks nice. And as you guys see, these bearing caps should only go on one way, and that's how that is supposed to sit, just right in there. So that is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get, again, that's cylinder 1. I'm going to go ahead and get the other caps installed, the other bearings installed, and then I will bring them over, line them up, and we'll get ready to put the eccentric shaft in place. Oh, and that brings me to one other thing. To make this job work, you do have to run down to your local parts store and pick up some 6mm. So these are M6 by 30 with a 1.0 pitch on them, thread pitch. This is what we need. We need a little bit longer studs here when we get ready to try to tighten this into place. So what we'll do is we're gonna use these to run our eccentric shaft into place. And then once we do, we can actually kind of run them in, get it down to a certain place, and then we can use our other bolts to tighten them down. We'll kind of have to swap them out one at a time after that. So we're gonna get started on that now. As you guys can see, I have my new bearing caps laid out where they're supposed to go. They're oriented in the correct direction. I've got my new Valvetronics, my eccentric shaft here ready to install. So I'm just gonna kind of get this set in place. There. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start trying to grab some of these caps and seeing if we can use our new tools, our new bolts, I'm sorry, to start compressing this shaft into place. Basically just try to get some threads going here. And this one's probably gonna, I don't know why I started here in the middle. Probably need to start on one of the ends, because that's gonna be more difficult to do. And like I said, we use these bolts here to just kind of get it started, or tightening it down. And then what we'll do is we'll grab our other bolts and swap out here shortly. But now I'm just going to tighten these down slightly, because you can see right now they're still loose. And as we tighten them down, we're just going to try to walk this shaft, see how much of it I can get done by hand. Basically kind of just walking this in, getting it tighter. Hopefully I'm not blocking anything. One thing I had to go back and look at camera-wise, just to make sure, is just to make sure these caps are in the correct orientation. And if you see, they have a little, I look at that as kind of a little dot. I don't know what that dot stands for there, but that actually is face down on mine. So all of these are, I've got the dots facing down. That tells me that they're opening it, that they're in the right position. So I'm just trying to see which one's loose, and then just kind of walking them in and tightening it, trying to getting it back into place. And what we're basically doing is getting it cinched down to a point to where we can put our other bolts in place, and they'll grab a couple threads and we can start walking them down, in other words. Okay, and we're still working on tightening these down. Right now, these are loose enough to where I was able to actually start working in our regular bolts. So as you can see, I've got the one back here at the very back done. This one here, this cap is now in good situation. So now I'm going to loosen these out. I'm going to take this top one out, swap it out real quick, and then we will do the same to the other ones here in just a moment. So we've almost got this eccentric shaft back in place. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've got all my bolts swapped out. I still have to actually tighten them down, and then I believe this is torqued to 10 Newton meters, I believe is what it is. So I'm going to keep going through this process, tightening these down one at a time to try to make sure that we get it to compress evenly. And then, like I said, I'll be back with you guys on installing the Valvetronics motor. So we are completely bolted down. I checked torque, everything's good. They've been tightened down properly. Now we're actually going to pull out our new Continental Valvetronics motor, and we are going to work on installing that. This is, again, where I'm going to cut this video off, because I have already done, I say cut this video off. I'm not going to repeat this section of the install because I've already done this in a previous video. So what I will do here is, the next thing that you will see is we will get to some of the Ista, so you guys can see me walking through the relearn process for our Valvetronics. As you guys can see, we've got the engine bay reassembled. Everything went back in. From what I can see perfectly, we'll know here in a minute when we actually start the car for the first time. Right now I've got Ista hooked up. We are running through just the complete vehicle check real quick. And this takes a couple of minutes. It's supposed to take probably about a minute and a half. So I'm waiting on that. I will be back with you guys shortly. I just don't want to eat up film waiting on stuff like this. So it's actually through the vehicle check now. This is actually giving me the faults that are showing up on my vehicle right now. I know all about these faults. This is something that I've dealt with for quite some time. What I typically do when it comes to Valvetronics, I just go over to, is it troubleshooting? I'm trying to remember which option I choose. Let's go service functions, and I just go to a text search. So here, I'm just gonna go ahead and type in, and there's all sorts of ways you could actually do this. I'll let it search for the Valvetronic information, and usually what we'll have come back through with is just some adaptations, a startup, that sort of thing. So what we're looking for to start with, I'm going to start here with that open global VTC limit position adaptation. So that's going to be my first thing that I'm going to do. Now, this is just the order that I use. I don't know if there's a specific order or not, but I'm just hitting continue. In this steps, the limit positions are taught, and you can hear, there we go. Limit positions are learned. That's really quick and easy. So that's done. And then we'll go back to our menu, Valvetronic startup function, or startup Valvetronic. So basically, this is after the eccentric shaft was changed, as well as possibly even the motor. So this is the process that we're going to go through. First of all, stop engine, terminal 15, Valvetronic adjustment values are now deleted. Okay, switch terminal 15 and R, wait for the digital electronic manually as deactivation. So basically, it has to start, stop. So I'm going to actually go to hit my stop button, shut it off, because it wants it to be shut off. And then we have to wait here for a moment. I'll be back with you guys here shortly. Basically, we're waiting for inside the vehicle, the light on the shifter, or even your light here on your window button will actually turn off. That tells you that it's actually dropped out of that function that it needs you to. Okay, put you guys on a tripod now. So now we're going to turn terminal 15 on, just ignition. And we're hitting continue to the next position. Still gonna go through the limit positions again. So we gotta run the engine at idle speed. Okay, so we're letting that run for a moment. I'll go ahead and next. And so Valvetronic run-in is now started. 450 procedures or cycles. And it's just continuing to switch back and forth, the Valvetronics is, and you can see it operating here on the laptop, but the car itself, just Valvetronic is just kind of going a little haywire. This is the learn procedure for Valvetronics. So we're just gonna let this sit here and run, and I will be back with you guys here shortly on the video. We are almost done with the run-in process. 447 cycles, and the engine is still jumping a little bit for me. And now it is saying that it is going to go through 50 trouble-free cycles. So it's just going to keep going here for a moment. Here we go, 47 trouble-free cycles, 49. There we go. Intake successfully complete. So we're going to shut off the engine. And that should be it. Let's double check. Service function complete. That is what we needed to do there for Valvetronics. So this portion of the Valvetronics is now complete. And there's not any really other reason for me to run any of the other operations. And that is basically it, guys. This has been a long day. I've been out here working since about 9. It's roughly 6. Had to do a quick pit stop to pick up one of the kids, but that's it. I will kind of follow back up with you guys at a later time. I don't anticipate any issues with this because of course it went through all of the Valvetronics relearn. Everything should be good to go. So you guys be safe, and we will catch you guys in the next video.